All right, Cubase 13 is finally here. This is very exciting, and they've done a ton of stuff on the surface and a ton of stuff under the hood, including some stuff that I got to sort of chime in on, which was very cool. So I did get to talk to them about my hopes for the chord pads, and a whole bunch of those features have been implemented, which is really, really cool. They're really listening to us. And I say us because I'm still not getting paid anything by Steinberg to make these videos. They send me the updates for free, but other than that, I am doing this just because I love the software. And that's saying something, because I do have affiliate links for a lot of other stuff, but nothing for Cubase, and I just love the program. And no matter how many other programs I try out there, I just keep coming back to it and go, you know what? Nobody does it better. I won't go over the reasons I love Cubase, but I will go over the reasons I love this new update. So we're going to have a look at some of the new things. We are going to play around with this Iconica Sketch, which is a complete orchestral virtual instrument library that comes with Cubase Pro now. When I first saw that, I was like, okay, Iconica Sketch, it's probably going to sound rinky-dinky, but I'm telling you, this thing sounds fantastic. You could do some serious orchestral work just with this plugin. So we'll have a look at that and just some of the things that I think make this update so exciting. I did get to talk to Greg Ondo, who I'm sure all of you guys know as one of the main Cubase YouTube creators, and he and another Steinberg employee walked me through tons of the new features. It was just an amazing experience. And if you've never heard of Greg Ondo, I'll put a link to his channel as well, because he's just amazing. Let's get into the fun new stuff in Cubase 13, see what it's all about. I really do think this one is worth it. Just because it's worth it to me doesn't mean it's worth it to you. So let's go see what these things are all about, help you make that decision. So first things first, the look of the software. You can see that it has been given an overhaul. It's a lot cleaner. Everything's starting to get a little more unified. And that does mean things like buttons are now uniform all over the place. Like this Edit VST instrument is now the same in the inspector, stuff like that. If you look at the mixer, you can see they've done some stuff to the mixer as well. Watch what happens if I go over to the EQ window in the inspector now. If I just tap here, we get an instant EQ that we can start playing with right away without opening up the channel settings. And now all I have to do is click on it and then hover away, and I close that little window. Go over to the mixer and do the same thing. Just hover over it, you can see that there's something there, click on it, and then now I can start editing, and now you can see that that curve has been changed. So over on the left-hand side now we get this channel strip zone, and you can customize that to show whatever you want over here. Maybe you want to use the inspector for more things like MIDI inserts and stuff like that. And then, of course, you can right-click. We can go expand sections exclusively. So that means I tap on EQ and it expands. I tap on inserts and then EQ closes, or you can just leave them all open. And you can also set up sections and choose exactly what you want to see in this left channel strip and then what you want to see in the old inspector. Another thing I love is this new tap tempo. You just start tapping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. So I'm at 125 beats per minute. And that's it, right on the main page. I love that, but it gets even better. You can just start tapping a key command. So I made a key command, which is just Option T, and now I can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm at 157 beats per minute. And that's the thing about Cubase is you get so much choice with your key commands, and there's more stuff with key commands this time around too. Anyways. We've got some sampler track changes, which I will go over in another video. They've added a new analysis mode in the sampler track, which is the spectral analysis, supposed to allow you to do extreme pitch shifting and stuff like that, which is very cool. And then they've also updated the envelopes. And then you've also got undo in the sampler track, which wasn't there before. We got 20 steps of undo. So you can start messing around with your samples and then undo back 20 steps, which is better than nothing, that's for sure. So let's add a virtual instrument here. We're going to go over to Halion Sonic 7, which is the new one. And we're going to go to Lo-Fi Piano. And let's just double click on one of these guys. Okay, that piano sounds good. Let's go look at the chord mode. So I'm going to go to the lower zone, which is just this button right here. Then I'm going to go over to Chord Pads. And here you can see all the new stuff that comes with these chord pads. And these are some features that I was hoping for. And there's so much stuff to dig into. I'm going to have to make an entire video just on chord pads. You can see that the look of it has changed. There used to be some information over on the left-hand side. They've gotten rid of that and just made things a little more easy to view over here. And then way over on the right-hand side, you can do things like click this button and change this to be from note name or chord name to Roman numerals. So you're seeing the 1, the 4, the 5, etc. And then you can also go to Nashville numbering system, which I've never used. So let's go start with the chords at the bottom. There's our C minor. And if I want this chord to be a little higher, I just scroll up with my mouse. And I can hold Option and scroll up and I can get different tensions. So we get this like G minor with a 6 and a 9, which is like a really beautiful chord. And there's just regular G minor 7. And then another thing they've got that's beautiful is they've got a whole bunch of new chord progressions, chords that you could plug into a project. So let's try this Autumn Breeze one out. It's kind of fitting. Click on that one. Now we've got E flat major 7. And maybe I want to make that one a little more complicated, so I'm going to take it up, add a 9 just by Option or Alt scrolling. All right, this is in E flat right now. And what I can do is click right here and take that to D major now. So very easy to take your entire chord progression that's sort of thinking in a key and then change it to another key entirely. So nice. And this is like, we need this in every program, you know, this ability and the ability to add your own and to copy and paste and then to save them as presets. And then another thing you can do is just hold Shift and scroll up and you're going to change the chord. And then let's just Option drag this one over here and then take that one there. And then we'll Option drag this one here, and then we'll Shift and scroll down below. And then now I'm going to hold Option or Alt and scroll up, and we're just going to make these all 9th chords. Just hold Shift and scroll up, and now we get a different voicing. All right, there we go. So now let's have a listen to this. Isn't that cool? It's very easy to go and customize your own chords, make your own little pattern, just with some tricks. I'm going to show you some tricks, some copying tricks and some voicing tricks using these complex chords to make your own kind of neo-soul-y, hip-hop-y, jazzy kind of chord progression. It's just so much fun and so quick and easy to do. Very cool stuff. Thanks, Steinberg, for listening to us on this. We've got 2 new EQs based on hardware, looking kind of familiar, if you know what I mean. So you'll be able to check those out. A new vocal chain effect that you can put on a voice. You can set up a preset that works for you. Let's just have a look at that one just because it actually bears looking at. And I'm just going to do that right from the inserts over here. We're just going to go to Steinberg and the vocals. And there's the vocal chain. We've got filters, gates, pitch, de-essers, a dynamic filter. We got compressors and EQs, and then you can change the order of the effects so one can be before the other. And then we've got even send effects for delay and reverb, imager to make something wider or narrower. And speaking of which, normally we used to have an audio track and it would be mono or stereo. Now we can actually click it and it turns stereo. So we just turned an audio track from mono to stereo, or we click it again. Do you really want to change it? No, we just changed it to mono. I do this all the time. I'm always making new tracks just so that they can either be stereo or mono, because there's a lot of times I import a sound effect that's stereo and I don't need it to be stereo. I actually want it to be mono because it's doing some kind of left or right thing and I just want it to be in the middle. Also something with vocals, if you want to put some stereo effects on it, it needs to be a stereo track. So now you just click on your vocal track, boom, all of your effects, everything stays the same way. You don't have to go add anything new. Brilliant. Nice little features like this that are just making the program so much easier to use. So they also have a vocoder, new vocoder, which isn't really new because they had a vocoder before, but it is a new vocoder. We'll do kind of like a hip hop style video. We'll look at the vocoder, we'll look at the sampler track, and we'll look at the chord pads in a future video. And all of those things are new, exciting additions. We had the vocoder ages ago. I don't know why they got rid of it, but it's nice to have it back. I can't say I'm going to use it a ton, but it's a really neat sound design tool to have, and it's a great gimmick to have every once in a while on a tune. So let's have a look at Iconica, because we'll be able to look at some other new features while we're doing that. So what I've got here first on this first track is a Celeste, or a Celesta, a little tiny piano, beginning of Harry Potter. There you go. And we'll double that, and then the next time around, we're going to take it up to C. And it's going to sound like this. Right, and for this next track, I've got the cello. And if you look at the cello, we can see that we've got some articulations. So on this low C, we've got these different key switches. So we got staccato, we got pizz, spiccato, which is even more aggressive staccato. And then we got sustains. So you could do chords. And then we got legato, which is going to be connected single line. And tons of dynamics in this library. This is what I noticed. Like so many libraries, you pull up the trumpets or the cellos, and you just get this kind of not very loud, aggressive forte fortissimo. What I like to, for most of my orchestral instruments, is put a bit of a pre-delay on them so that they start a little earlier. It takes a little bit of time for the attack to happen. So we're going to go minus 50 milliseconds. So that if you quantize something, now it's lining up more with your beat. So we've got our cello in there. Let's next go to this English horn, which is this beautiful, mournful, kind of oboe-like instrument that has a double reed, very hard to play. Like, listen to these trumpets. And then the staccatos. Next instrument, I definitely need some percussion in here. So let's drop in the percussion map, and I double click on it, and then use my favorite feature of Cubase, which is the drum map, and go over to where it says no drum map, and we're gonna go create drum map from instrument. Watch this. Now when I go to my editor, I can see all of the names of the sounds over in the drum editor. Bass drum here on the B, and if you hold the B flat or A sharp, we get the rolls. You see, even the drum editor, the notes just have a little bit nicer contrast in them. Next, we got the horns, or the French horns. Okay, so for this next one, I want to take my trombones, and I want to have the trombone part be taken just from the French horn. So we're going to do kind of the same thing. So I'm going to Option drag, or Alt drag this down onto the trombones. Okay, so I'm really digging what's happening here with this kind of new rhythm, but I did something different on the trumpets before, which feels a little overblown. So here's something we can do in the new version. Before, we could always have multiple tracks open at the same time, or multiple parts open in your editor. But now what we can do is go over to this left-hand side, if you're in the big editor here. And now I'm going to add the French horns. So I've got the French horns and the trombones here. Let's turn off the French horns for a second. And I just want to take these trombones and put them down an octave. So shift down. Okay, so now I've got my trombones down the octave with the French horns, which are right here. I just turn them on. And now let's go over to the trumpets. And I just turned it on and I can see them, which is great. So let's do this. Let's turn off French horns and only look at trumpets and trombones. So now I'm going to take my trumpets and start matching them up so that they line up with what the French horns and the trombones are doing, so that they're all exactly the same. And then maybe we'll just get rid of this. And we'll just see if we can just kind of wrap this up really quickly. So I'm going to go violins on this one. And with the violins, we're going to take that French horn melody, put it right in there. Violins. Now let's make sure our violins are in the right octave. This is turning to a bit of a mess, but I just wanted to show you some of these new orchestral instruments because they sound so incredible. So I've got a violas patch, and I'll do something at the end for this one. So let's have a listen to the violas in there, but you could just have so much fun. Maybe add a little more space to your orchestral arrangements. I think it's so incredible that you finally get a real orchestral library with Cubase, because to me, it's like one of its greatest features is scoring for film and learning how to use the orchestra. So now it just comes with it. Beautiful stuff. Thanks, Sandberg, for sending it over early, and hit me up in the comments with your favorite new features or any other questions, and look forward to more videos on this because I'll be definitely doing more in the near future. Thanks for watching.